Dive into chilling shark stories that intertwine joy and horror. Discover how blissful moments rapidly transform into life-threatening encounters that will leave you on the edge of your seat. In today's feature, we recount several astonishing encounters with sharks ranging from heart-stopping narrow escapes to incredible instances of survival. These narratives are guaranteed to keep you captivated. Let's commence with our initial account detailing a wedding celebration that took a dire turn with an unforeseen sinister revelation. It was a beautiful dawn on an exclusive island. Retreat in Bora Bora, the sun gently touched the skyline, bathing the placid waters in a golden glow. Guests had convened from numerous places, adorned in their finest attire, ready to witness the joining of two lives. The breeze carried sounds of mirth, happiness, and the perfume of exotic blossoms. This was Laura's wedding day, a milestone she had envisioned her entire life. Little did anyone know this day of festivity was about to descend into darkness, a twist no one could have predicted. Laura, the glowing bride tobe, was a vision of grace and beauty. Her gown, an elegant fusion of lace and silk, softly billowed in the tropical wind. She stood on her private villa's balcony, gazing upon the clear lagoon. Despite the excitement swirling around her, Laura felt a momentary desire for solitude. She sought a brief respite to calm her pre-wedding jitters. "I'll be back shortly," she murmured to herself, slipping out of her wedding attire and into a simple white swimsuit. The ocean was her haven, a place where she discovered serenity and clarity. She descended the sandy path, her heart quickening with anticipation for the day ahead. The water was inviting, sparkling beneath the morning sun. Laura waited, in feeling the cool embrace of the sea envelop her. She glided effortlessly, her movements fluid and unforced, a sharp contrast to the emotional whirlwind within her. As she ventured further from the shore, a sense of liberation washed over her, the burden of the day's expectations fading. Yet beneath the surface, concealed in the lagoon's depths, lay a peril she couldn't have foreseen. A shadow moved silently, unnoticed by the joyful guests and the blissful woman. It was a predator, a stealthy hunter, drawn by the movement above. Laura's strokes were rhythmic, her breathing steady. She closed her eyes, relishing the moment of peaceful isolation. But then something shifted, a sudden change in the water's temperature, a fleeting shadow crossing her sight. Her instincts flared. But it was too late. A violent jerk dragged her under. Panic surged as she struggled to grasp what was happening. She fought desperately, her limbs thrashing, but the grip was unyielding. She broke the surface, gasping for air, and in that instant she saw it. A dorsal fin cutting through the water, a stark contradiction to the tranquil surroundings. Fear seized her heart as the truth dawned. She was not alone in the water. The guests on the beach remained unaware, their laughter and conversations obscuring the horror unfolding just beyond the shore. Laura screamed a primal cry for help, but the distance and festivities drowned her out. She kicked harder, adrenaline fueling her desperate fight for survival. The shark circled, its intent clear. Laura's thoughts raced. This was meant to be the happiest day of her life. She thought of her fiancé waiting for her, oblivious to the nightmare she faced. She thought of her family, her friends, all gathered to celebrate her love. She couldn't let it end like this. But the ocean had a different agenda. The shark struck again, its powerful jaws clamping down. Pain shot through her, a searing agony that stole her breath. She fought against the encroaching darkness, her vision blurring as she struggled to stay afloat on the shore. Someone finally noticed, a shout, a pointing finger. Then chaos. People rushed to the water's edge, their joy morphing into horror as they witnessed the struggle. Boats were launched, rescuers plunging into the water. But the distance was too great. Time was slipping away. Laura's strength waned, her body growing numb. She felt herself being pulled under. Again, the world above fading from view. Her last thoughts were of love, of the life she was leaving behind. She had always believed in fairy tales and happy endings, but this was reality, and it was happening now. The water turned crimson, a grim testament to nature's unforgiving power. As the rescuers reached her, it was too late. The ocean had claimed her, a tragic conclusion to what should have been a beautiful beginning. The guests stood in stunned silence, their tears mingling with the salty air. The celebration had begun. Scene of mourning, the island's beauty overshadowed by the event's darkness. In the days that followed, the island resort transformed into a place of contemplation, a stark reminder of life's fragility and fate's unpredictability. Laura's story would be recounted repeatedly, a cautionary tale of joy turning to sorrow in the blink of an eye. And so on that ill-fated day, the island bore witness to both the pinnacles of human happiness and the abysses of despair. A wedding intended to forever unite two hearts became a haunting memory, a reminder that existence can alter in an instant, and sometimes fairy tales lack a happy conclusion. Now, let's proceed to the second narrative. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to hit that button so you won't miss any of our thrilling upcoming content. This next tale involves a traveler whose adventure took a sorrowful turn. It was an ideal summer day in 2021 on South Africa's isolated beaches. The sun cast a golden glow over the pristine waters, painting a scene of tranquility and unspoiled grandeur. This was the South African coastline, renowned for its rugged allure and hidden gems, a haven for those seeking peace and exploration. Among them was Paul, a young backpacker with an insatiable desire for discovery, irresistibly drawn to these uncharted shores. He had heard whispers of secluded beaches untouched by daily life's hustle, and was determined to unearth their secrets. Paul's trek through the dense flora had been long and arduous, but the sight that greeted him was worth every step. A pristine stretch of sand flanked by towering cliffs and the endless ocean lay before him. The beach was a hidden sanctuary far from civilization's prying eyes, a perfect escape from the world's clamor. Paul dropped his pack, feeling the soft sand beneath his feet, and inhaled the salty air, letting the place's serenity wash over him. This was precisely what he had sought. A place to disconnect from the world and immerse himself in nature's embrace. The rhythmic sound of waves lapping the shore soothed his weary soul. As the day progressed, Paul explored the beach, marveling at its untouched splendor. The sun began its descent, casting a warm glow over the horizon. Paul decided to swim, eager to feel the ocean's cool embrace. He knew the risks of swimming alone, especially in these remote waters. But the sea's allure was too potent to resist. He waded into the water, its coolness refreshing against his sun-warmed skin. As he swam further from shore, he felt a sense of freedom, as if the ocean welcomed him into its vast, mysterious depths. The water was clear, and he could see the sandy bottom far below. Little did he know the calm surface concealed a lurking danger. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange. Paul floated on his back, gazing up at the breathtaking colors, lost in the moment's beauty. Suddenly, a strange sensation pricked his senses. The water around him seemed to shift, a shadow passing beneath the surface. He dismissed it, attributing it to a trick of the light, but the feeling persisted, intensifying with each passing second. Paul turned, scanning the water around him. His heart began to pound as he caught sight of a dark shape gliding effortlessly beneath him. It was immense, moving with a graceful power that belied its size. Panic set in as he realized what it was. A great white shark, one of the ocean's most feared predators. Paul's mind raced, his instincts screaming at him to find safety. He tried to remain calm, knowing that sudden movements could provoke the shark. He began to swim back towards the shore, his movements slow and deliberate. The shark circled him, its cold black eyes fixed on its target. Paul could feel the terror rising within him, each heartbeat echoing in his ears. The shore seemed impossibly distant, the expanse stretching out like an eternity. He could see sand's safety, but the predator was closing in. Paul swam harder, his muscles burning with effort. The shark's movements grew more aggressive, sensing its prey's desperation. With a sudden burst of speed, it charged. Paul felt a searing pain as the shark's teeth sank into his leg. He screamed, the sound lost to the ocean's vastness. He thrashed, trying to free himself, but the shark's grip was unyielding. Blood clouded the water, a crimson plume that seemed to attract more predators. Paul fought with every ounce of strength he had, but it was a battle he couldn't win. The shark pulled him under the water, closing over his head. Paul's vision blurred, the world around him fading into darkness. He thought of his family, his friends, the dreams he had yet to fulfill. A profound sadness filled him as he realized this was the end. The ocean, once a place of peace and beauty, had become a merciless executioner. As the last of his strength ebbed away, Paul felt a strange sense of calm. The pain began to fade, replaced by a numbing cold. His thoughts drifted to the beach's serenity, the sun's warmth, the sunset's beauty. In those final moments, he found a small measure of peace. The ocean returned to its tranquil state, waves gently lapping the shore. The beach, once a haven of solitude and beauty, now held the silent memory of a life lost. Paul's backpack lay abandoned on the sand, a poignant reminder of the journey that had led him to this fateful encounter. The following story is a genuine tragedy. Let's witness the third account, where a school outing concluded in a manner no one could have foreseen. It was a warm, sunlit morning in late May, the sort of day that made you feel vibrant just by being outdoors. The Florida Keys buzzed with excitement as high school seniors from across the state gathered for an annual tradition, a field trip to explore the marine marvels of the coral reefs. Among the eager students was Eric, a high school senior with a passion for adventure and a profound love for the ocean. This excursion was intended to be a memorable capstone to his high school years, an opportunity to bond with friends and absorb natural beauty before graduation. But no one knew that this day would become unforgettable for a far more terrifying reason. The students were divided into groups, each set to partake in different activities. Eric's group was bound for a snorkeling expedition, a chance to swim among the Keys' vibrant marine life. They listened intently as the instructor briefed them on safety protocols, the types of fish they might encounter, and the importance of respecting the delicate coral ecosystem. Excitement permeated the air, and Eric's heart pounded with anticipation as they donned their snorkels and flippers. The students chattered eagerly, their energy palpable. Eric's best friend Jake playfully nudged him. "Bet you can't spot more fish than I can," Jake challenged, grinning widely. Eric laughed, shaking his head. "You're on," he replied. His competitive spirit ignited. The group waded into the water, the cool ocean lapping at their legs, and soon they were floating over the reef. The underwater world was breathtaking. Schools of colorful fish darted through the coral, and sea turtles glided gracefully by. Eric was mesmerized, every worry and thought dissolving as he lost himself in the surrounding beauty. Minutes stretched into hours as the students explored, pointing out creatures to each other and marveling at the diversity of life. Eric's mind was so captivated by the wonders below that he failed to notice the subtle change in the water's current, nor the dark shadow that passed silently beneath them. Suddenly, a scream pierced the serene underwater silence. Eric's head snapped up, and he saw the group's instructor frantically waving everyone towards the shore. Confusion turned to fear as he saw the terror on the instructor's face. Then he saw it. A large dark shape moving with alarming speed through the water, heading straight towards them. A shark. Panic erupted. Students splashed and thrashed, trying to swim back to the boat or the safety of the shore. Eric's heart pounded in his chest as he kicked his legs, propelling himself through the water as fast as he could, but the shark was fast, too fast. Eric felt a sudden searing pain in his leg, unlike anything he'd ever experienced. He screamed, the sound muffled by the water, and looked down to see the shark's massive jaws clamped around his leg. The world seemed to blur, pain and fear overwhelming his senses. He struggled, kicking with his free leg, but the shark's grip was unyielding. Jake turned back, his face a mask of horror. "Eric," he shouted, but his voice seemed distant, almost unreal. Eric's vision began to tunnel, the edges growing dark, He felt the shark shake its head, the motion sending waves of agony through his body. He knew he had to fight, had to get free, but his strength was fading. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, Eric reached down, punching the shark's nose. With all the force he could muster, the shark released him, and he kicked away his leg, a throbbing mass of pain. Jake was there, grabbing him under the arms, pulling him towards the shore. "Hold on, Eric, hold on." Jake's voice was strained, frantic. The rest of the group had made it to safety, watching in horror. As Jake and Eric struggled through the water, the instructor and a couple of other chaperones waded in to help. Their faces pale with fear, they dragged Eric onto the beach, the water around him stained red. He gasped for breath, the pain overwhelming. Jake's face hovered above him, tears streaming down his cheeks. "You're going to be okay, man, just hang in there," he said, but Eric could hear the fear in his voice. The world started to fade, the sounds around him growing distant. He could feel the sun's warmth on his skin, the sand beneath him, and the taste of salt on his lips. He tried to hold on to stay conscious, but it was like trying to grasp water. It slipped through his fingers no matter how hard he tried. The last thing Eric saw was the faces of his friends, their expressions, a mix of terror and helplessness. He wanted to tell them it was okay, that he wasn't scared, but the words wouldn't come. Darkness closed in and the pain began to fade, replaced by a strange cold numbness. His last thought was of the ocean, the beautiful, serene ocean that he had loved so much. And then there was nothing. The beach was silent except for the gentle lapping of the waves. The students huddled together, their faces etched with shock and grief. The instructors did their best to comfort them, but there were no words that could ease the pain of losing a friend in such a sudden, brutal way. The sun continued to shine, the ocean continued to roll, indifferent to the tragedy that had just unfolded. For the students of that high school, Eric's story would be told and retold, a haunting reminder of life's fragility, the world's unpredictability, and the courage it takes to face the unknown. Moving on to the fourth story, we have the account of a marine ecologist who believed she comprehended everything about the ocean until something unforeseen occurred, leading to a profound misfortune. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. It was a brilliant sunny morning off the coast of the Galapagos, bathed in light, promising another day of exploration, and Marvel Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a distinguished marine ecologist, was preparing for what she believed would be a routine research dive. She had dedicated her life to studying these islands' rich marine biodiversity, and today was no different, or so she thought. Sarah had always been captivated by the ocean. It was her sanctuary, her realm of infinite wonder. She lived for the moments when she could descend into the deep blue, surrounded by the mysterious beauty of the underwater world. This day was no exception. As she prepared to plunge into one of the planet's most diverse marine ecosystems, the team had set sail early that morning, their boat cutting through the calm waters with ease. The objective was straightforward: to gather data on the migratory patterns of the hammerhead sharks that frequented these waters. Sarah and her colleagues had been tracking a group of these magnificent creatures for months, and today they hoped to collect crucial information to aid their conservation efforts. With her wetsuit on and gear ready, Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the familiar blend of excitement and tranquility that diving always brought her. She double-checked her equipment, ensuring everything was in order. As she gazed out over the water, a sense of calm washed over her. Little did she know this dive would be anything but routine. Descending into the water, Sarah felt the cool embrace of the ocean envelop her. The vibrant coral reefs came into view, teeming with life. Schools of colorful fish darted around, and the distant silhouette of a sea turtle glided gracefully through the water. It was a scene of serene beauty, a reminder of why she had chosen this path. Sarah swam deeper, her eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of the hammerheads. She spotted a few in the distance, their unique flat heads making them unmistakable. She began recording movements, her mind focused on the task at hand, but something felt different today. There was an unusual stillness in the water, a silence that was almost palpable. As she moved closer to the sharks, Sarah noticed a shadow moving swiftly in the periphery of her vision. Her heart skipped a beat. Sharks were a common sight in these waters, but this shadow was different. It was larger, more menacing. She turned slowly, her heart pounding in her chest, and there it was. A massive, aggressive shark, unlike any she had ever encountered. The shark's eyes locked onto hers, and in that moment Sarah knew she was in danger. It was a primal fear, an instinctual response to the apex predator before her. She remained as still as possible, hoping the shark would lose interest and swim away, but it didn't. Instead, it began to circle her, each pass bringing it closer. Sarah's mind raced. She knew that sudden movements could provoke an attack, but she also knew she couldn't stay there indefinitely. She needed to get back to the boat, to safety. Slowly, she began to back away, her eyes never leaving the shark. The distance between them and the surface felt like an eternity. Just as she thought she might have a chance, the shark lunged. It was a blur of motion, powerful and terrifying. Sarah reacted instinctively, pushing herself away with all her strength. The shark's jaws snapped shut inches from her leg, the force of its movement creating a shock wave that nearly knocked her off balance. She kicked hard, propelling herself towards the surface. Her lungs burned, her heart pounded, and her mind screamed for air. The shark was relentless, following her with a single-minded determination. It was a race against time, a battle for survival. Breaking the surface, Sarah gasped for breath, her eyes scanning for the boat. She saw it, a beacon of hope in the vast expanse of water. She waved frantically, shouting for help. The crew spotted her, their expressions shifting from curiosity to alarm as they realized the danger. She was in the boat roared to life, speeding towards her. Sarah swam with every ounce of strength she had left, the shark still on her tail. The distance closed agonizingly slowly, each second feeling like an eternity. She could see the outstretched hands of her colleagues, hear their shouts of encouragement and fear. Just as she reached the boat, the shark made one last lunge. Sarah felt a sharp, searing pain in her leg. As its teeth grazed her, she screamed, but her hand found the edge of the boat with a final surge of air. She hauled herself out of the water, collapsing onto the deck. As the crew pulled her to safety, the shark lingered for a moment, its dark eyes watching them before it finally swam away, disappearing into the depths. Sarah lay on the deck, breath coming in ragged gasps, her leg throbbing with pain. She had survived, but the ordeal had left its mark. The team worked quickly, administering first aid and assessing her injuries. Sarah's leg was badly torn, but she was alive. The boat raced back to shore, the crew's faces a mix of relief and concern. As they reached land, an ambulance was waiting, ready to transport her to the hospital. Sarah's mind swirled with emotions. Fear, relief, gratitude. She had come face to face with one of nature's most formidable predators and lived to tell the tale. It was a stark reminder of the ocean's power and unpredictability, place of both incredible beauty and terrifying danger. As she was loaded into the ambulance, Sarah looked out at the sea, feeling a profound respect for the waters that had both nurtured and nearly claimed her. Sarah survived the attack and eventually cautiously returned to the sea. Story number 5 details a hiker who embarked on a journey and encountered the unexpected while swimming alone in a secluded cove. He came face to face with a large shark underwater. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. It was a crisp autumn morning in 2020 along the rocky coastline of Maine, where the sea meets jagged cliffs and the horizon stretches endlessly. Rob, an avid hiker, had spent the early hours trekking through dense forests and along steep trails, reveling in the solitude and peace that only nature could provide. The scent of pine trees and the distant call of seabirds were his companions as he navigated the rugged terrain. After hours of hiking, he arrived at a secluded cove, a hidden gem that he considered his personal oasis. The cove was a perfect crescent of calm waters, shielded from choppy waves by a ring of rocks. The sun had begun its ascent, casting a golden glow over the scene, making the water sparkle invitingly. Rob felt the sweat on his brow and the heat of his exertion, and the cool, clear water beckoned him. He stripped down to his swim trunks, eager to cool off after the strenuous hike. The beauty of the cove was mesmerizing, and Rob felt a profound sense of peace as he waded into the water, the chill providing immediate relief to his tired muscles. The water was refreshing, and Rob swam further out, enjoying the feeling of weightlessness and the gentle pull of the ocean. He floated on his back, staring up at the cloudless sky, feeling completely at ease. The world felt distant, and all his worries seemed to dissolve in the salt water. Little did he know this tranquil setting was about to turn into a nightmare. As Rob swam, a shadow moved beneath him, unnoticed. In his state of relaxation, the calm surface of the water hid the danger lurking below. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his leg, like a vice clamping down with immense force. Panic surged through him as he realized what was happening. A shark had latched onto his leg, its teeth cutting into his flesh with terrifying precision. Rob's scream echoed across the cove, shattering the silence. He thrashed wildly, trying to free himself, but the shark's grip was unrelenting. The water around him turned red with his blood, and the pain was excruciating. His mind raced, filled with fear and disbelief. This couldn't be happening. He was just swimming, enjoying the peace of the ocean, and now he was fighting for his life. He kicked at the shark with his free leg, trying to hit its sensitive snout. For a moment, it seemed to work. The shark released its grip, and Rob frantically swam towards the shore, his leg burning with pain. He could see the rocks, his sanctuary, but the distance seemed insurmountable. He pushed himself harder, adrenaline fueling his desperate escape. But the shark wasn't done. It circled back, drawn by the blood in the water. Rob felt a second, more vicious attack as the shark bit into his other leg. The force pulled him under, and he struggled to break free, every movement a battle against the powerful predator. The water was a blur of thrashing limbs and blood. The once peaceful cove now a scene of horror. Rob's strength began to wane. The fight was taking its toll, and he could feel his energy draining away. He thought of his family, his friends, and the life he loved. The pain was overwhelming, but the will to survive kept him fighting. He clawed at the water, trying to reach the surface, to breathe, to live. In a final act of desperation, he punched the shark's gills, hoping to cause enough pain to make it release him. Miraculously, the shark let go, and Rob surged upwards, breaking the surface and gasping for air. He could see the shore so close, yet so far. With every ounce of strength he had left, he swam, his vision blurring and his body screaming in agony. He reached the rocks and pulled himself up, collapsing onto the rough surface. He was bleeding profusely, his legs mangled by the shark's bites. The pain was unbearable, but he was alive. He looked back at the water, half expecting the shark to follow, but it was gone. The cove was eerily silent, the chaos of the attack replaced by the gentle lapping of waves. Rob lay on the rocks, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Sun was still shining, the world still turning. As he lay there, the pain and shock began to take their toll. His vision dimmed, and he felt himself slipping into unconsciousness. The last thing he saw was the endless blue sky, a stark contrast to the nightmare he had just endured, and then everything went black. The rocky coastline of Maine had claimed another victim, and the cove, once a place of tranquility, would forever be marked by the tragedy that unfolded that fateful day. Now let's continue with the 6th story, which recounts how a family's beach outing culminated in disaster. It was a warm summer morning in Florida, a day that promised endless delight and laughter. Families flocked to the beach, eager to bask in the sun and relish the ocean's refreshing embrace. Among them was the Thompson family, excited for their Long-awaited vacation, the waves gently crashed and the aroma of salt water filled the air. Little did they know this idyllic day would take a horrific turn. Max, a curious 6-year-old, was the heart of the Thompson family. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he dashed across the sand, his laughter mingling with the sound of the waves. His parents, Emily and David, set up their beach chairs and umbrellas, exchanging smiles as they watched their son play. They felt secure in this familiar setting, a beach they had visited countless times before. Max's fascination with the ocean was undeniable. He loved the way the water tickled his toes and the sensation of the wet sand beneath his feet. As the morning progressed, Emily and David became absorbed in their conversation, losing sight of their adventurous little boy. Max, driven by his insatiable curiosity, wandered closer to the water's edge. Emily watched Max with a fond smile, recalling how he had always been drawn to water ever since he was a baby. David's eyes twinkled with pride as they shared a moment of contentment, unaware of the lurking danger. Beach was bustling with activity. Children built sandcastles, teenagers played volleyball, and surfers caught waves in the distance. Amidst this chaos, Max's movements when unnoticed, he waded into the shallow water, giggling as the waves splashed around him. The water felt cool and inviting, and he took a few more steps, venturing deeper. As Max played, a sense of unease settled over the ocean. Beneath the surface, unseen and silent, predator lurked. The crystal-clear waters hid the danger that was slowly approaching. The beach, once a sanctuary of joy, was about to become a scene of terror. Emily glanced up, searching for Max. Panic surged through her when she couldn't spot him. David's eyes scanned the beach, his heart pounding. They both stood frantically, looking around, their minds racing with worry. Max, oblivious to the growing alarm, was now waist-deep in the water. He splashed and played, unaware of the dark shadow gliding towards him. The shark, a massive great white, moved with predatory grace, its instincts honing in on the small, unsuspecting figure. A nearby beachgoer, Sarah, noticed Max alone in the water and felt a pang of concern. She had a son of the same age and knew how quickly things could go wrong. The fragility of life suddenly felt very real. Time seemed to slow as Emily and David's frantic search continued. Their calls for Max grew more desperate, their voices lost in the cacophony of beach sounds. The sun shone brightly, a stark contrast to the darkness looming beneath the waves. Max's laughter was abruptly silenced. The water around him churned violently as the shark struck. Panic erupted on the beach as bystanders screamed and pointed towards the commotion. Emily's heart shattered as she saw the horrifying scene unfold. David, driven by sheer terror, sprinted towards the water. The ocean, once a playground, had become a battleground. The shark's powerful jaws closed around Max, pulling him under. The water turned red, a macabre reminder of the predator's dominance. David reached the water's edge, but it was too late. The sight of his son's small body being dragged away was more than he could bear. Emily collapsed onto the sand, her screams piercing the air. Bystanders rushed to help, but there was nothing they could do. The shark disappeared into the depths, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The beach, moments ago alive with joy, was now a scene of unimaginable sorrow. Sarah, the concerned beachgoer, watched and clutching her own son tightly. It could have been him, she thought, tears streaming down her face. The fragility of life had never felt so real. The authorities were called, and the beach was cleared. Emily and David were inconsolable, their world shattered in an instant. The ocean, once a source of joy, had become a symbol of their greatest loss. Max's laughter, a sound that had filled their hearts with happiness, was now a haunting memory. Now the next story is about Dr. Phil, who tragically undertook his final dive. It's the most terrifying narrative we've encountered so far. It was a crisp autumn morning in 2008, off the stunning coastal waters of California. The sea was alive with the gentle rhythm of waves, a serene yet powerful reminder of the untamed world beneath. This picturesque scene set the stage for a group of marine biologists on a mission to tag and study the elusive great white shark. Among them was Dr. Phil, a dedicated and passionate marine biologist whose life's work revolved around understanding these magnificent creatures. Dr. Phil, a seasoned researcher with an infectious enthusiasm for marine life, had spent years studying sharks. For him, the ocean wasn't just a place of work. It was a sanctuary, a realm of endless mysteries waiting to be unraveled. Today was no different. With the sun casting a golden hue over the horizon, he and his team set out on their research vessel. Equipped with the latest tagging technology, the goal was simple: tag several great white sharks to track their movements and behaviors, contributing valuable data to conservation efforts. But what began as a routine expedition soon spiraled into a nightmare. No one could have anticipated. Dr. Phil stood at the helm of the boat, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of dorsal fins. The anticipation in the air was palpable. Each member of the team knew the risks, but their dedication to science and the ocean drove them forward. They deployed the bait, hoping to attract the attention of a passing great white. Minutes turned into hours. And finally, the moment arrived. A massive shadow appeared beneath the surface, gliding with an eerie grace. A great white shark, easily over 15 feet long, emerged from the depths. The team sprang into action, their training taking over as they prepared the tagging equipment. Dr. Phil, with steady hands and a calm demeanor, approached the edge of the boat. The shark, majestic and intimidating, swam closer, drawn by the bait. Phil readied the tagging pole, his heart pounding in his chest. This was the culmination of months of preparation and countless hours of study. As the shark neared, Phil extended the pole, aiming for the dorsal fin. With a swift, practiced motion, he successfully attached the tag. The team erupted in cheers, their excitement filling the air. They had done it. The data they would collect from this shark could be groundbreaking, but their celebration was short-lived. The tagged shark, now aware of the intrusion, displayed A behavior they had rarely seen. Instead of retreating, it turned aggressive. In an instant, the shark charged at the boat, ramming it with incredible force. The vessel rocked violently, throwing the team off balance. Panic ensued. Dr. Phil shouted instructions, trying to keep everyone calm, but the shark's aggression was relentless. It circled the boat, its dorsal fin slicing through the water with terrifying speed. The team had never encountered a shark behaving this way. It was as if the tag had triggered something primal within the creature. In the chaos, one of the team members lost their footing and fell overboard. Dr. Phil's heart sank. Without hesitation, he grabbed a lifebuoy and leaped into the water. The cold shock of the ocean enveloped him. As he swam towards his colleague, he reached the struggling researcher and secured the buoy around them, urging them to stay calm. But the shark was still there, a dark shadow beneath the surface. Phil could feel its presence, a menacing force lurking in the depths. He knew they had to get out of the water immediately. The team on the boat lowered a rope ladder, desperately trying to pull them back to safety. Just as Phil helped his colleague onto the ladder, he felt a sudden sharp tug on his leg. Pain shot through his body as he was yanked underwater. The world above dissolved into a blur of bubbles and darkness. The shark had him, its powerful jaws clamped down, dragging him deeper into the abyss. Phil fought with every ounce of strength he had, kicking and struggling against the overwhelming force. His mind raced, a whirlwind of fear and determination. He couldn't give up, not now, not when so much was at stake. But the shark's grip was unrelenting on the boat. The team watched in horror, helpless to intervene. They shouted Phil's name, their voices lost to the vastness of the ocean. Time seemed to stretch, each second an eternity. As they waited, prayed for a miracle beneath the surface. Phil's vision began to blur, his lungs burned, desperate for air. He felt his strength waning, the cold darkness closing in around him. Images of his family, his friends, and the life he loved flashed before his eyes. He thought of the ocean, the very thing he had dedicated his life to protecting, and in that final moment, a strange sense of peace washed over him. He had lived his dream, even if it was ending in the jaws of one of its most formidable inhabitants. Back on the boat, the water finally stilled. The shark, sated or perhaps driven away by some unseen force, disappeared into the depths. The team pulled the rope ladder back up, their faces etched with sorrow and disbelief. Dr. Phil was gone, taken by the very creature he had sought to understand. The ocean, once a place of wonder and discovery, now to echo with the loss of a brilliant mind and a brave soul. Dr. Phil's death was a stark reminder of the unpredictable and often perilous nature of the sea. His team, heartbroken but resolute, vowed to continue his work to honor his legacy by shedding light on the mysteries of the deep. And so the coastal waters of California, bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun, held within them a story of courage, tragedy, and an undying passion for the ocean. Thank you for watching these incredible stories from Shark Quests. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. We'll be uploading plenty of new content soon, so stay tuned for more exciting ventures. Which story resonated with you the most? Share in the comments and subscribe for more riveting tales.